Can you tell us more about yourself and what you're currently doing?
Thank you so much. I feel humbled and immensely grateful to given the opportunity to share my view to inspire others. So my name is Manuel. I am studying a master's program in communication studies here at East Tennessee State University at Johnson City, Tennessee. I came here with a background in communication studies from the University of Cape Coast, and I have always wanted to further pursue communication because I wanted to find out how can communication be used in other areas or these courses. And so that motivated me to pursue communication studies master's program here at East Tennessee State University.
Yeah,
If you wish to pursue a program you have no background in, that is absolutely fine. What makes the difference is your personal statement or your statement of purpose. That makes the difference. That is where you pour out your heart to inform the panel who are in charge of reviewing your application about exactly who you are, what drives you, and why you want to pursue or be in their program. Your statement of purpose defines exactly what actions you would like to take in the program, and then at the end, how those actions will benefit you in the future. And so you don't have to have a background in communication study in order to pursue communication studies. No, you can come from all backgrounds to pursue communication studies or any other particular program. What makes the difference, like I mentioned, is your statement of purpose. Why are you diverting? You have background in information systems. Why are you pursuing communication studies this time? Something might have prompted that. And so during the personal statement, during the period where you put in all of the stories that you want to tell the panel, that is the right time to write exactly why you are diverting from maybe information system, medicine, public health, nursing to communication studies. Tell them why. You need to be as convincing as possible because the postgraduate studies is very rigorous, overwhelming, and intense. Students who are selected or students who are offered admission are particularly reviewed for progress in the program. So if you hold the potential to succeed in the program, why not? They will offer you admission. One thing to support your application is the personal statement. You really need to be specific and define reasons why you think you are a good fit for the program and how you think the program will benefit you. Those are the schools are looking out for. I don't have to write test scores. I particularly did not write any test score. I did not write a GRE. I did not take TOEFL or IELTS. No, I did not write all of those international exams. I just applied with my transcript. Though I had a background, I have other students from my class who have no background in communication, yes, still did not take other exams, but still made it to the program. It's all about how you submit your application package as a whole.
Okay, so you completed your bachelor's degree in the year 2021, right? October. And
Yes.
during that time, you had a year gap. So 2021, 2022, then 2023 before you came to the US. At which point did you decide to start searching and hunting for schools in US? And why US? Why not Canada, Australia, Switzerland? But you decided to choose US and apply. What actually motivated you and why did you decide on US?
Okay. So I started my travel abroad studies, particularly for the US. I think when I was in level 400. I always wanted to pursue a postgraduate program in the United States. I started while in school when I was in level 400. I began searching for schools that could give me the opportunity to study applied communication and study communication studies. So right after school, while doing my national service, I did my national service at a media house. I can't mention the name. So while there, once I have a free time, I would constantly work on schools, search for schools that could potentially admit me and give me the opportunity to explore my academic pursuits. So I started during that time, that was in 2021, August. Yes, 2021, October or August, yes. So I searched for the schools. I got a couple of schools in the US, and then I started my application. I began my application that year. I was unsuccessful for one reason or the other. I know you know it's the beginning. You are not used to the process. You do not know specific things that you need to do. You do not know exactly like how to email professors. You don't know the advantages that lies in how important it is to communicate with professors of your program, directors of your program, coordinators of your program to get rich information, and that guides you to submit a very rich application, and then you end up getting admission and funding. I wasn't aware of all of that, so I was just putting in applications unnecessarily. I wouldn't say unnecessarily, but I was just so enthused in the process that I did not get more information before beginning the process. So I submitted a couple of applications. That year I submitted 2 applications, and then I had admission the following year around March, but I did not get funding for those admissions.
After your national service, so what you're trying to say is that when you started first in 2021,
Yeah,
in 2022 March, you actually got admission to the 2 schools, but you didn't get funding because you didn't actually sit down to put in much of the work, or the consistent preparation that this graduate school journey needed, right?
absolutely.
Okay, so after your national service, what was the change?
So I had hoped that I started the process earlier because I had hoped that maybe right after my national service, I would have the opportunity to pursue my postgraduate study. But that wasn't the case. After national service, and in Ghana, Ghana particularly, after national service, it's either you get something doing yourself or you get employed, and the level of unemployment in our country. You just doing something yourself, or you travel to pursue other opportunities outside of your country. So I did not want to be caught in between that. I didn't want to find myself in a situation like that, right? So that was why I started the process early. But in the case where I was unsuccessful in my first attempt to these 2 schools, though I was admitted, but I did not get funding for them, I continued. But this time round, I was well informed of what to do and what not to do. I went online. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I consulted a few friends who were already in the US. And then I wanted to know, okay, how best can I go through the process again? And this time be successful at the end. So most of the time I was on YouTube, watching a lot of YouTube videos, getting myself abreast with a lot of information that I probably didn't have when I began the process. And so I would say that helped me a lot, consulting YouTube and then other channels that could give me rich information into my quest for pursuing a master's degree outside the country. So once I knew I had received enough information about the process, I began putting in applications again. One thing about this process is that you don't have to give up. Once you give up, then it means you don't believe in what you're doing, or you don't know what exactly you want. So I continued the application process. I submitted about 5 of them. I submitted 5 of them.
That was in 2022.
That was in 2022. Yes, that was in 20. And then back then I was working. I had opportunity to work with a study abroad institution in Ghana. And so that work experience also gave me another aspect of exposure to the process. And so I incorporated all of those training and information I had received, both from my work, from YouTube, from friends already in the US and in the UK about the process. So that really helped a lot. So I invested all of those information into my subsequent applications, and then with the hopes of gaining admission. But not knowing, I was still writing my personal statement the wrong way, or my statement of purpose. In some schools, it is personal statement. In others, it is statement of purpose. But they all have specific ways of writing them.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was not writing my personal statements the right way. I was inputting information that was too generic. It wasn't specific to the program requirement. And I didn't know. I committed that mistake all across board with all the 5 schools I submitted my applications to. And so between August 2022 and then January to March 2023, those applications were still unsuccessful.
No, wait. You started your application in 2021, 2 schools, you got admission, no funding. So because of that, you couldn't proceed.
Yes.
And in 2022, you applied to 5 schools, waiting for decisions in 2023, and you got no funding or admissions for the 5 schools as well.
Absolutely. I got 3 admissions without funding at all, because the application was not as competitive as compared to what they were expecting, right? So I gained admission to 3. They didn't consider me for funding. The other 2 did not give me admission at all. Then the exhaustion came in, and I got overwhelmed.
I know, right?
I thought the process wasn't for me, because others just apply to just a single school, and then opportunity comes with funding and admission and all that. Their health insurance is paid. It is a fully paid. So I thought my story would be same, but unfortunately it persisted as the months went by, and so that actually had an effect on me. I began questioning myself if this whole process is even for me. Maybe I am destined for something else. But moving forward, I had to just motivate myself, listen to stories from others, those who have tried to 20, 15, 10 schools. Even with a visa interview, I know people who have tried multiple times before they were successful. And so those stories motivated me to actually move forward. So even though I got discouraged, I had to muster courage, pick up my pieces, and then put it together, and then just motivate myself to keep fighting and keep moving forward.
Okay.
So
wait, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. You were working for a study abroad campus,
yes,
or institution in Ghana.
yes,
and you were always applying, helping people apply, and helping them with their visa interview. And I know there are some people that passed through your hands that got admission and funding to some universities
yes.
across the world. And yourself, you tried this same process and it wasn't going the way you expected. That is really serious, like something very serious.
It was the most funny aspect of the whole story is that, okay, why are you the doctor to the
like you're the signboard.
Exactly. Well, the doctor doesn't heal himself, so himself or herself. So I think that was my story. I was part of the team that was helping other students thrive in other countries like the UK and the US and Canada and other countries. But yeah, I was struggling to make it through myself. So it tells you the level of rigorousness. But one thing I identified with the educational system here in the US is that in the UK, once you show a little potential, you're good to go. But the US is a very serious place. US specifically is a very serious place. If you want to, I'm not trying to compare the educational system in Canada or the UK or Ireland or the US, but the demand for US is high. And so the requirements keep getting very competitive and very, very rigorous. And so you need to abreast yourself with that amount of information so that you can meet requirements, right? And so I didn't have that exposure. I didn't have that information, right? Even though I was working with an institution that was sending people abroad to study, but I didn't know how rigorous the US was compared to other countries, right? So the whole application package, you should not joke, from transcripts to personal statements to letters of recommendations to writing samples and all that. Fine. COVID has actually advantageous to us international students because most of the schools had to waive off the GRE requirements and other examinations that you needed to take before you can gain admission into certain programs. But after COVID took over, most of the schools they actually got exposed to how challenging it is for some countries, especially African countries, are struggling with the outcome of the COVID-19 pandemic, and so they had to waive off those requirements, and so it actually helped. Some of the schools now don't require you to take GRE or TOEFL or IELTS to gain admission. You just need to prove that you're a potentially good student in order to be admitted. And then how can you do that? Your personal statement. That is where you pour out your facts. You need to be guided on what to write and what not to write. Most of the information that we write in the personal statement is irrelevant. It is generic. You need to be specific to the point. Especially here in the US, you really need to be specific to the point. They want to admit potentially good students who hold the potential to carry their name even after they graduate, to go forward into the world, doing greater things, changing the world in their own way while carrying the flag of the school, right? And so it becomes a very competitive place. And so students who gain admission into various programs are highly competitive. And so how do you make yourself competitive? Assuming your transcript is not as excellent, you are not a first class, you're not supposed to be a first class student to pursue a postgraduate program. No. You can go as low as second class lower. Some even use third class degrees to pursue postgraduate program. But the difference is how you explain yourself, your personal, your writing stuff. The whole application that you submitted is a full package. They do not review transcripts and leave the rest of the materials hanging, right? It is a holistically viewed application, right? Holistically viewed application. And so everything is considered. You are falling short with your transcripts. Okay, how can we? Most of the programs do not want to let go of students who are potentially good. Okay, so once you know that your transcript is falling short, make sure that your personal statement is strong. Ensure that your letters of recommendations are well written to your advantage, right? Other materials should support where you are falling short or where you have shortcomings, okay? In your personal statement, if if certain parts of your transcript doesn't look good, that is the point where that is the way to explain to them, or that is the platform where you explain to them exactly why you have a C or why you have a D or why you have a B in certain programs. So here in my school, East Tennessee State University, you need to, especially with literature courses, English courses, communication courses, you really need to maintain in Ghana like a B plus in order to gain admission into the program. But once you have a C or a D, you need to explain in your personal statements how that came about, okay? You really need to explain to them why you have a C, why you have a D, so that they know you, so that they know, okay, this is what went on. At least they would see the progress in your transcripts, okay? If you can well study your transcripts and explain to them exactly the nature of your transcripts, you're giving them good reasons to know you're a good student. You have accepted shortcomings, and then you're giving them explanations to how those shortcomings came to be. And so I would say the application process is a full package. You should consider every single material in there very important. This time around, it's more flexible because you don't need other examinations to enter programs. And so it's done with the other materials that are required.
Yes, that is really well said. I think what I normally say is that during your application process, what you have power or autonomy over is your statement of purpose and your CV. So these two things are going to actually tell the people or the committee who you are. So you just have to use all the advantages that you have and make sure that you are selling yourself, you are branding yourself to whenever they see your statement of purpose, they wouldn't think twice about it because they know that this student is really good and we want to know more about this particular student. So one thing that I'm also picking from what you're saying is trying not to be generic, especially when you are writing your statement of purpose, and be specific enough. And one thing that also stands out to me is the fact that you said there are some schools that require that the grades that you didn't do or the courses that you took that you think you didn't do well, you can pick a paragraph in your statement of purpose and explain why you think you didn't do well in those particular courses. That
Yes.
is very, very key that I think a lot of people don't talk about. So, Manuel, 5 applications, it didn't go through. What changed?
So, as I stated, from August to August 2022, when I completed my national service, to August 2022 to March 2023, I was in the I was still in the job field. I was still working with the travel abroad institution, study abroad institution, and so even though I despaired, I was really really despaired, but I had to encourage myself to move forward, picking inspiration from stories that have been shared about how you need to be determined, you need to really be focused on the process. You have to continue anytime you fall. If not, you won't succeed. So I continued, and then this time what I did was to review what my shortcomings were. So I was emailing professors, I was sending emails to professors, I was reviewing my own personal statements, I was sending my personal statements out to those who have the experience. My friends in the US already, I was forwarding my personal statements to them to guide me on how to write them. But one thing they keep telling me is that we do not have to write a personal statement for you. You need to write your personal statement and then we guide you to
Manuel,
structure.
say that again. I want you to say that again.
We do not have to write personal statements for you.
Mm-hmm.
You be invested into the process yourself. Because throughout the whole process, there will be questioning right from the visa interview, right from the school application, through to even when you are arriving at the port of entry.
Yeah.
You are questioned on specific questions, right? That you only can answer when you have invested yourself well into the process. Okay. Some airports are very lenient, and once you get there and they see you're entering with an F1 visa, they don't have a problem with you. But some of the airports that we transit in would ask you specific questions. They can even go to the extent of asking you how you got admitted, how did you submit your application, where is your personal statement, how did you write it, and all that. So you don't know. This process is very sensitive. And so you need to get yourself well vested into it so that along the line, at any point, even if you're sleeping and then you are hit to answer a particular question, you have it at the tip of your fingers and then you just throw it out, right? And so you don't need people to write your personal statement for you. That is what they told me. Write it yourself. Let us review it. Let us tell you what changes to make. It makes you a better student. And that is absolutely exactly what we do here at graduate school, especially those coming for graduate studies. Graduate students are supposed to write individually. Graduate students are supposed to write on their own. That is why you are in graduate school. If you're a good writer, no one would want to admit you into graduate school. And so your personal statement, being able to write your personal statement yourself, gives you a start point to exactly what you're about to face in graduate school.
Yeah.
If you want to travel to study, then be open to facing reality. Graduate school is rigorous, it is intense, it's overwhelming, it is on a whole different level. So you need to be well vested into the process. Okay, here comes in the point of you picking a program. Sometimes we are so drawn to the fact that we want to travel by any means or possible, and then we don't really meditate on what decisions or what route we are using. If you are using an educational route, and then you think, okay, you can just make it to the US without investing into the program you applied to. No, my goodness. You went to the US, you've been granted an F1 visa. So you need to meet F1 requirements. In my school, once you get a C, you are out.
Yeah.
You need to maintain a B plus. You don't even need to get B minuses. You need to maintain a B plus in order to keep your F1 visa status. If not, your service will be absolutely terminated, and then you have no business here in the US. You have wasted all of those resources and time to be here, right? You really need to know exactly what you want. The graduate school is very, very, very intense. Okay. You need to be passionate about what program you are choosing. Don't just choose any program.
Yeah.
Okay. There are lots of opportunities here, but for the time being, you are coming as an F1 student. you need to meet course requirements in order to maintain your status here in the US. For that matter, you need to really pick a program you can easily resonate with. If you pick a program that you don't passionately want to pursue, and then you get here, believe you me, it's really going to get tough for you here in the US.
Yeah.
The academic level in postgraduate school is on a different height.
I even think that is something we don't really talk about. And at times when you are saying it, people think maybe you don't want them to actually come. But if you cannot even write your statement of purpose and you think you can be in graduate school, then I think there is an issue here we have to be actually talking about, because graduate school is really rigorous. Like, there is a whole lot of work in graduate school. So if you think that you come in and someone is just coming to feed you and you're not going to do the work, then that is a lie. So if you're not ready, you better not start, because once you get here, you're actually going to put in the work. Like, you're going to work, going to do things on your own. And
yes,
it's just, it is what it is. Manuel, after you had the 5 rejection, did you still apply to other schools, and how?
I did. So fast forward, I learned what my shortcomings were, and then I tried to correct those shortcomings. So again, I got 5 schools. So I totally ignored. So now I have applied to 8 schools with no outcome, right? So I had to pick on other schools. I had to try other schools with the advanced experience that I have gained. I needed to invest it into new schools. Okay, so I went on further with my search, and then I had opportunity to apply to other 4 schools. And these 4 schools, I had 3 admissions, but they told me funding was not available for the for 2023 semester. And so that became a challenge, another setback, another downfall. It got more disappointing than I imagined. So, and the other school gave me funding, but it was just 50% funding. It was just $1,000, and I think the whole amount was around 24,000. And then that was just about 40% of the total cost of attendance. So there was no way I could make it. I don't have the money to pay for that deficit if I had the opportunity to even go. So
was it Southern Illinois, Edwardsville?
Yes, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. Yes, that was school. That was the 4th school I applied to after the 8 schools. So Southern Illinois gave me only 8,000, and my deficit was a little high for me to settle, and so still I did not make it. So I had to drop all of those schools because nothing positive came out of it. One thing I should mention is that we have programs that have PhD office and master's office, right? You should be careful how you apply to certain schools. Do not only focus on the big schools that you hear about out there, okay? Most of these big schools have PhD programs. And I should say, based on my experience, that you can't compete against, as a master's student, you can't compete against typically you can't compete against PhD candidates. No, they have master's degree, they have teaching experience, they have research experience more than you do. And so once you're applying to the same program, there is no way that you can compete against these people, because they have more work experience, teaching experience, research experience, more. They have all of that is required for graduate school. And so make sure that once you know, you have vetted yourself, you know your capacity, you know the requirements you hold, you know the qualifications you hold, you should ensure that you're applying to a program that would favor you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the mistake I did was that I applied the rest of the 4 schools. Out of the 4, 3 schools were highly ranked schools, and those 3 schools had PhD programs. Okay, the communication program I was applying to as a master's student had PhD level study as well. And so funding is offered together. It's not as if separate funding is given to master's students. There's designated funding for master's students, and then there's allocated funding for PhD students. The funding is actually given to qualified candidates, both masters and PhD. But one of my coordinators, most of the coordinators from all the three schools reached out to me saying that the applications they received for the fall 2023 semester was very competitive. More PhD application than master's application. And the PhD students were more than qualified for the program. And they only had spaces for 11, 10, 12 students out of like tons of applications that were received. And so you put you put yourself in that situation, and then you know, okay, I'm competing against hundreds of PhD candidates who were overqualified for the space, but you did not get it, right? There's no way you can make it in there. You can't crack that nut. Compete against PhD students for the postgraduate space.
What people have to like, I think the advice that I give to people is that you have to check the school and their focus. Most of the schools, you realize that they give emphasis to their PhD students as compared to their master students. So you should be able to know. And that is where the code emails comes in, like, you know, because when you are putting in the code email and you're asking the program coordinators, they're actually going to tell you that, yeah, we take master students, we give them funding and PhD, but then much emphasis is being given to, because US, every PhD program you're going to pursue in US is basically automatically funded as compared to masters. Masters, at times you even get admission before you have to apply for the graduate assistantship. So you should always check with the school and know, because if you don't do that, then you're going to waste money and admission is going to come. You might get admission. Like I say, getting admission in the US is very easy. Like you can get admission, but you want to leave and come here, come study because you want some, you know, bit of funding in your educational process. Because if you don't have funding, you land yourself in US.
You won't survive. You won't survive.
Yeah.
Those who have survived, they could come out to tell their stories. It's not a fairy tale dream. It's not a walk in the park. It's a very, 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 very tiring process. If you don't have, studying in the US is very, very expensive. It's very, very, very expensive.
Not to even talk about like the health factor, you know, the health side of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so Manuel, so when all these were, you know, actually happening, was it still in 2022, or now we've now changed the setting to a new year, that is 2023?
We've moved to 2023 because I stated that between August 2022 to March 2023, I submitted those 4 applications.
Okay.
And then I was successful with those 4 applications. So adding to the 8, making 12. So I had applied to 12 schools, gained about 7 admissions without funding, got 5 rejections.
Did you get a waiver, or you paid for all the 12 schools?
I should say that I got a waiver for about 5 of the schools, and then I had to pay for 7 of the schools. Okay. Some of the schools had to even pay for course transcript evaluation.
Where's okay?
Yes, a school like University of Illinois Springfield, I had to pay for transcript evaluation fee, and that was almost like 2,200 Ghana cedis.
Wow. Yes. So guys, for those of us who don't know what the WES evaluation is, I think it's something that some of the schools here in the US want you to use, a platform they want you to use to evaluate or approximate that of your transcript back home, so that it will suit that of the US educational standard before your documents can be reviewed. So for those of you who don't know what WES evaluation is, and at times it's really expensive. That is why most people try to avoid. There are some schools, if you don't have your transcript evaluated, you are not going to be accepted. They are not even going to review your documents for you. So some of them is a must, it's a requirement you have to provide. But what I say is that I applied to 16 schools and I never did WES evaluation. At the end of the day, I just made sure that all the schools I was applying to waived their WES evaluation. So you can always do that as well. So thank you, Manuel. So you can continue for us.
Yes. So after those 12 unsuccessful applications, I was really down. I was really down. I thought, okay, yes, this process is not for me. Let me pursue something else. But I had a friend who always motivated and encouraged me. You were there yourself. And
Also, I want us to pay some respect to, how do I even say it? Like, I know Esther drew out of blessed memory, also helped you at a point. I don't know if you're going to talk about that because I know it's really going to sound emotional, but wherever she is, I pray her soul actually rest in peace. Yeah.
yes, she was a good friend of mine. I met her through this whole process. May her soul rest in
Yeah.
peace. I miss her a lot. She has been a blessing to me.
She was
She
in
has
Clemson State University, right?
Clemson University
Yeah.
in Carolina, South Carolina. Yes. So she was the one who actually came in. She actually came in later. I still submitted other applications. I submitted other two applications to what schools were those? I think the University of Kentucky and the is it the University of Maine? No, it was one other university I submitted my application to.
After the 12,
After the 12 unsuccessful. So within March, I still went on to submit two other applications within March.
within March 2023, you were still submitting application.
Yes. Yes, I submitted other two applications to other two schools. And then I was waiting for a decision from them. It was forthcoming. I didn't get any response from those two schools. So and April was going away without any. It was not Dakota State University. So University of Kentucky and North Dakota State University. So in the middle of April, North Dakota State University. I actually began the application way back in 2022, but never submitted the application. But it was after I had unsuccessful applications from the 12 schools I had applied to before I thought of, okay, let me then submit the application I started for North Dakota State University. And by the time their deadline was over, they told me I did not submit my application on time to be considered for admission or funding. Once you're admitted, you are fully funded.
Yeah.
And so if there is no available funding for you, then it means that your application should be rejected. So I got a rejection in the middle of April. That was my last hope. North Dakota State University was my last hope. And so I had hoped that if not for anything, I would get opportunity to gain admission and get funding from North Dakota State University. But unfortunately, on the 16th, I think it was a Saturday, 15th or 16th April 2023, they also sent me a love letter.
Yeah, love letter. Yeah.
The love letter is crazy. They sent me a love letter telling me, no, you cannot, we don't have space for you in our program. And then I followed up. I think I followed up with a coordinator, a professor, and then they said I submitted my application late, and then all the spaces had been occupied by then. So as at April 2023, 15th April 2023, my hopes of studying in the US were shattered. I had nothing to write home about. I just wanted to focus on work, and then maybe in the future I would hope that another way or another breakthrough comes for me to pursue my graduate program in the US. So I was there, and then I had my friend. I had Clemson University. So I had a few friends. I had Francisca, I had Odate, and a few other friends. So I reached out to her, and then she asked me how far with my application processes, what progress have I made, and then I told her about the whole story. And then one tiring thing about the whole process is that you need to keep applying to more schools, and that can be very overwhelming, especially with getting recommendation letters from your professor. All of this fleet of schools that you are applying to.
My professor actually told me that what if all the 16 schools admit me? What am I going to do? The recommendations I'm sending on your behalf is a lot. So I think it got to a point he didn't even submit again because I think he was fed up, which I actually understood, like, where he was coming from. But it is what it is,
So I had my professor who wrote my recommendation for me told me after the 10th school, he said, I am not writing any more recommendations for you. How many schools do you want to apply to? Why are you telling me that your application is always unsuccessful? Because I have done this for a couple of students throughout my year as a professor here, and then I haven't had a student who had to apply multiple times. So it was really tiring, the process. It was really tiring. You want to continue. You want to continue to apply to more schools for more opportunities. But then you are frightened by how to get recommendations from your professors to the new schools that you wish to apply to. So the whole process can be really, really, really tiring. And so fast forward, it really affected my thought process. My thought process was overwhelmed. Do I wish to pursue this line of action even further? Should I withdraw all of this hope of traveling in the US? So all of this was overwhelming my thought process. So it was at that time that I met my good friend who from Clemson University, blessed memory, who said I should submit my personal statement to her. She actually looked at the personal statement and told me, it looks good, but it's too generic. It is not about using vocabularies. It is not about sounding right and very constructive and very outspoken and all that. You need to give them what they want to hear.
Specific.
Yes, you need to put in the information that would convince them that you are a good candidate. You are proving to them you're a good storyteller. You're writing nicely. Your vocabulary is good. Your spelling is right. Your structure is okay. But are you giving them the information they need to admit you? They are not admitting just based on vocabulary or based on writing nice and interesting stories on your personal statement platform. No, they are seeking to admit students who know exactly what they want, and then what they want aligns with the goals or the requirements of the school. Okay, so she looked at it and then she asked me, okay, so what schools do you have on board so far? I told her I am exhausted. I do not wish to go through the process again. I am tired. I think at the time I called you to tell you how tired I was. So I gave up. I gave up basically. She was the one doing everything. She was the one doing everything. She kept motivating me. But throughout the process, one thing that was really charming to me was that she took me through the whole period of the process. She told me, don't give up. Let us do this together and see how best we can. So it is not a process you can begin and end on your own. Some are lucky to apply to certain schools that the admission requirement or maybe the program need more people to apply to it, and so they easily gain admission to those programs. You can't be lucky like others are, right? In the general space, most of us struggle, especially if you want to do the whole process on your own without telling anyone. And in Africa, when you start this process, you don't wish to let anyone know until you're successful about the whole process, right? And so that becomes a challenge. You can't be successful on your own. So she told me, let us collaborate. Okay, let me tell you where you can improve, what you can do to better your chances of getting admission and funding. Then I was resistant at the beginning because I was so overwhelmed and tired of this whole process. I didn't want to hear anything about the process. And so she got to me. And so upon further meditation and looking through to exactly what I wanted or what I wanted to achieve in the near future, I had to just succumb to a strength that she was actually channeling out to me. So she did, and then she told me to revise my personal statement. So in Word, she actually taught me how to critique a Word document. Put comments in Word documents where you write an essay and then you can highlight and write a comment, what needs to be changed, what needs to go here, how you need to move this line to another paragraph, you need to move a paragraph. So she actually taught me that. So she took my personal statement and reviewed it, taught me how to structure it well, and then what to omit, what not to omit. And so that's actually helped. At the end of the day, she guided me through a personal statement that had the potential to stand any other competitive application.
The scholarship, yeah.
When she brought back when she brought back the feedback, when she critiqued and then I restructured according to her criticism, she got back to me saying, this is one of the most phenomenal personal statements I have ever. I wish I could put it out there. It has some personal information to myself that I might not be able to share. Maybe in the future, I might be able to share a portion of it. But it was wonderfully written. a wonderfully written personal statement.
And at that time, was it still in March? And did you use that personal statement to apply to another school aside the 12 that you had already put in place and didn't get any good feedback from?
Now I have 14. I don't have 12 anymore. I have about I have about 14 applications because I applied to another two before. Yes.
And after
So
her critique or her review,
yes.
you still apply, then you use her critique and review to apply to another school.
Yes. And that is the present school I am in now.
Oh,
That
then
is
then Esther Cote actually did great. May her soul rest in peace, because this is really touching and amazing. And I know her demise is actually going to affect you one way or the other.
it did. I'm still recovering. It did. It did. I Unfortunately I don't know anyone who was close to her. I don't know any of her friends because we met online.
Yeah.
And then we yes, and then she offered to help me. She was selfless. She was so driven to help me. And so I don't know anyone close. If not, I would
I
get
think
in touch.
her sister is also very active, and her sister also has a YouTube account. I don't know. I'll try and see if I'm going to get that details and send to you. Then maybe you
I
can
would
reach
love
out to her. Yeah.
has been an angel. She has been
A
an angel.
great impact.
She has. She really has. And I'll forever remain grateful to her. So she actually reviewed my personal statement and then she asked me, okay, so now what school do you want to apply to?
Yeah.
We need to review the personal statement again to meet the school's requirements. So here's what I was doing. I wrote a generic personal statement and then I used it to apply to fleet of schools.
All over.
Okay. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Every school and every program, you might have communication studies at the University of Iowa, and they have different requirements compared to the compared to the communication studies program at Iowa State University. Those are two different universities. Those are two different. The program is the same. You might think the program is the same, and so okay, this is a personal statement that qualified for Iowa State University, so that I can use it for the University of Iowa. No, they have professors that are available for particular programs.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you write your personal statement that does not cover any professor in there, does not align with the interest or does not align with the specialty of any professor in there, then you don't stand a chance of gaining admission into the program because they feel like that they don't have resources to meet your requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You want to come and do gender and sexuality studies or media or rhetoric studies under communication in a university. The university does not have rhetoric professors who are well vested in rhetoric or whose interests lie in rhetoric studies in communication. Then it means that you can't gain admission, but you did not do that research. You did not know about that, right? And so it makes your personal statement generic. More reason why you should not submit one personal statement to multiple schools, because every personal statement to a particular school is unique to that particular school and that particular program you're applying to.
If you are in a company, or let's say if you are someone who is applying for a job, you can't use one CV to apply to 10 jobs.
Exactly.
Because there are certain skills that those jobs might want you to include in your CV. And if you are using the same skills for the same job, then it's really going to be problematic. So it's the same for the schools. I always say that there's one of the red flags that people don't actually pay attention to. If you're applying to any school, make sure that the interest that you are choosing overlaps with that of a particular faculty, and you are going to mention their names in your statement of purpose. At times, some of them even want you to reach out to the faculty and ask them that, oh, your interest is in this, I'm also interested in this, and if I'm admitted, I want to. And some of these professors go to the extent of even telling you that, oh, okay, your interest is really good. You can include me in your statement of purpose. So imagine a professor telling you that you can include my name in your statement of purpose, and your application package gets to the review committee. They're really going to know that this particular student actually made his or her research well, And during my time, there were some schools that didn't demand that you reach out to any faculty. So that is why it is very, very necessary and essential to always check the requirement and the eligibilities of the school. You don't just get up and just do anything anyhow and just apply anyhow. That school, for instance, I actually felt like, because all my schools I actually included professors, but this particular school said they stated categorically that I shouldn't include any professor in my statement of purpose and I shouldn't reach out to anybody. And I did what they said. And When the decision came, I got fully funded scholarship in that school. Why? Because I followed their footsteps. I followed everything that was required. So if you go to a particular department website and they are requesting for faculties to be in your SOP or you reaching out, you have to do it. You don't have to be ignorant and just forget about it and you think it's not going to affect anything. No.
It will.